Broadcasting from the KMF Collective Studio, it's time for the CrossFit Paragon Podcast. Tune in each month as we spotlight one of our unbeatable members who make our box what it is today. Now, here's your host.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to this installment of the CrossFit Paragon Member of the Month podcast. I'm your host, Katie Galley. Today in the KMF Collective Studio for our April 2020 episode, I have with me one of the most encouraging and positive members who walks through our door every day. I think the phrase "to know him is to love him" was generated to aptly describe this incredible Paragonian, Brian Cummiskey. How are you doing, Brian?
Hey, Katie. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today and share your story with us.
I'm happy to be here.
Good. I'm really excited to dive in, Brian, and learn about you and your journey. And so just to kind of kick it off, I wonder, how did you first get involved with the sport of CrossFit?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I initially got involved probably back in 2016, it was 2013. Right after I graduated college, I was looking for kind of something to do to get back into athletics. I was always kind of an athlete. And my sister kind of discovered CrossFit and pushed me into it. So I started doing a CrossFit gym here in Dallas, Texas.
And so what you said your sister discovered it and kind of made you aware of the sport. So what about it kind of piqued your interest? Was it solely because your sister told you about it and you just wanted to see what it was about? Or was there something else about it that really made you think, I want to try this out and see what's going on there?
Yeah, I think it was just like the community aspect that really drew me into it. From a lot of videos online, it seemed like there were a lot of people who were very encouraging to one another. And it was also like a fairly intense form of fitness at the time. And so I think there were just like a lot of aspects like that were really appealing to me. You know, what I was doing up until that time was just going to LA Fitness and just kind of doing my own workouts. A lot of workouts that I picked up in high school, which, they were good, but they just weren't kind of lacking the level of intensity that I was looking for and that I got in sports and athletics growing up. And CrossFit, they had a coach, they had a class, they had a lot of components like that I think, really helped me to push myself. So I think it was a lot of a combination of a lot of those things.
Yeah. And I mean, that makes sense coming from an athletic background and kind of craving that intensity in a workout and having a coach to lead you through it and guide you through it. So Brian, do you remember your first ever CrossFit workout and what it was like? Were you initially just immediately hooked? Was it something where oh man, I never want to do this again? What were those feelings that you were having when you first had that initial workout?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Honestly, Katie, I think I hated it first. I really have no idea what it was, but it was probably a combination of burpees and kettlebell swings, maybe even a ladder, maybe even focusing on breathing. And I felt sick. I went really hard. And this is kind of, my MO. I was a pretty good track athlete in high school, and I always worked hard. And not to be too gross, but I would, especially early on in a season, if I was out of shape, it was a good workout if I threw up during it. And I found myself feeling that sick early on in CrossFit. And that's kind of what I tried to get myself there. So, but it was really hard, Katie. So yeah, but there's even then it's worth doing. So I think you kind of understand that and you keep going back and I can say, so that was my first kind of CrossFit workout. And since I found CrossFit Paragon, I had similar experiences with starting Paragon for the first time as well. I think you just keep coming back. Mm-hmm. And eventually I start to like it, but it just takes some time.
Yeah. And I think that's a kind of the trajectory that a lot of people take with CrossFit. You're like, man, this sucks. I hate it. I don't want to do this. But there's something about it that keeps you coming back. And it's kind of, it hooks you and you thrive on that puking. You thrive on that challenge and that hardness that goes into it. And it's kind of a cool thing that keeps you interested and wants you to come back. And like you said, Brian, it kind of led you then eventually to Paragon, and that finding that similar style workout, and kind of again satisfying that competitive drive that you had. So from your starting in Dallas and discovering CrossFit, and then moving to Atlanta where you are now, how did you find CrossFit Paragon, and why did you choose to stay?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So it's funny, my sister got me involved in CrossFit in Dallas, and she was visiting me in Atlanta, and she was still doing CrossFit at the time, and she dropped into Paragon and met Nate and everybody and had a great time and talked about how good the community is. So, it took me a matter of months later until I was kind of at a point where I was ready to go to CrossFit. And I asked her for suggestions, and she told me about her experience, and I was like, you know what, I'll just give this place a shot. So, at that point I had been fairly sedentary, and I still I really wasn't working out at all. So I knew I just needed to do something. And I met Nate, and as you and everyone at Paragon knows, he's super engaging. I think the first time I met him, I felt like I had known this guy already. And the second time he remembered my name. And it's just like a lot of little things that keep me coming back.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, he does have that engaging personality, and that big thing of always saying your name, treating you so well the minute you walk through the door, really feeling like you're important and you're valued every time you set foot in the gym. And so, Brian, I mean, having that initial experience, having your sister go through, dropping in and sharing with you that you should really try it out, and then you too deciding, okay, I need to do something. I want to get up and kind of shift this sedentary lifestyle. So now, in your reflecting back and over your time at Paragon, do you have a story that you can share from your time here that really showcases that reason why you keep coming back?
Wow, yeah, that's a really good question, Katie. I don't know if it's necessarily just like a specific moment in time that was the moment that kept me coming back, but I think like there's a lot of reasons I love Paragon. Like the athletics portion is awesome, but I think for me, like I learned discipline at that gym, and then I can apply it to other aspects of my life. So I talk about this to some people in the gym a lot, but like I think for me, a lot of the way that I can live my life, if I'm not intentional about it, is to just do like what feels good to me and like what I want to do. And what CrossFit is great is I honestly do not want to go to the gym. I mean, it gets easier as you do it. You start to really look forward to it, but especially early on, I didn't want to do it. I found myself sitting in my car before the class thinking, oh my gosh, I do not want to go in right now. But I think it's just like, yeah, you keep doing, you can, let's see, how do I phrase this? What I've learned is that you can have an idea in your head and then have contrary action in opposition to that idea. And I love CrossFit because I can do that. I can learn how to do it there, and then I can apply it to other aspects of my life, like work, like in relationships. So I think I just feel like I get better at doing that there, and I keep coming back.
I love that, Brian. That's such a good, I really love what you said, that you had those moments of sitting in your car and you just did not want to go in the gym. And you had that thought of, man, I could not go in. I could just sit here. I could go home. But then you act contrarily to that. So it's that discipline of when you don't want to do something, making yourself still do it and developing that discipline, developing that, just that perseverance to keep going. And I think, like you said, you can draw on your athletic background and everything that kind of led you to this point. But then too, that it doesn't just exist in the world of CrossFit. It doesn't just exist in the gym. It transcends into every other area of your life, professionally, personally, and it's just a really cool kind of ripple effect that happens by just developing that discipline.
Totally. I totally agree. And I do want to add to, like, one thing that I love about CrossFit, it's like a lot of what we've talked about so far is kind of serious, but and especially what I love about Paragon is I love to joke around, and I think it's a really good environment where I can just come in and be myself, and then the coaches there will kind of match you where you're at. And I think a lot of them know, like, this is your time, like you're here on your own choice, and they kind of, I don't know, I feel like it's a place for me to just cut up, joke around, maybe sometimes a little too much. And I'm sure I kind of straddle the line a little bit here and there, but
Never.
I take my my lead from Nate, and he's always there. So,
Right.
but I think what I really like about it is, I can have a hard day at work, and then it's just like I get there and I just get to like take a deep breath and go, okay, I made it. And it's really it's like there's a lot of athletes at Paragon who they take it very seriously because that's like part of like it's in line with their goals for themselves, and that's totally great. And then I would consider myself like I'm not quite there at like wanting to be maybe like a really high performing athlete. I could work on my diet. There's a lot of things that I can do, but I'm pretty competitive, and you know what? That's great. I think like CrossFit Paragon is a great environment for anybody, no matter what your goals are. The coaches and Nate and Miriam have been like, you know what, if you want to go to the games, that's great. Like, we're going to help you get there. And if I'm like, you know what, I still want to eat maybe one pizza a week, they're like, that's fine. Just like come in.
Yeah.
So.
Man, I love that. And I love hearing that too. It's a place where you work all day long and you are choosing to come to the gym. You're choosing during your lunch hour or after work or before work to go to this gym because that's your sanctuary. That's the place you choose to go. You could choose to do a million other things, but you choose to come get a workout in at CrossFit Paragon. And so that's an amazing thing because and then to have that freedom and that environment to be able to do that with whether it's the coaches or your community, the other athletes in the class. And like you said, it doesn't matter all over the spectrum what your goals are. If you're this elite pursuing athlete or you're just coming in to move for that day, whatever it is, it's just being able to meet people where they're at.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great, Brian. And so in line with that too, so bringing up goals, I wonder what is a current fitness goal that you have and that you would like to achieve and why?
I think I definitely need to work on my flexibility and my mobility.
You and me both, Brian.
I always, yeah, I know, right?
Right.
I don't know if it has to do with us being runners or what, but Nate always gives me a hard time. My shoulder mobility and especially is really tight, and I do a lot of distance running, and so I don't know. Basically, just mobility, flexibility. It can drastically improve not only my workouts, and I'm sure it can improve my quality of life. So I would love to be more flexible and more mobile by the end of this year, or as soon as possible, really.
I love that. Yep. I'm on board with that with you. And I think it does have to do with running and the jumping. It really, I guess it shortens your muscles. The more that you run. And then if you run and you don't stretch properly, which I know I don't. I'm not calling you out, Brian, but I'm sure you don't either. Stretch properly afterwards.
Yeah, you see me and I believe, yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's a fair statement to make, Katie.
It's okay. You and me both. You, me, and Kylie. We got to work on our flexibility, both figuratively and literally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All aspects. It's a huge honor to be on this, and I think Paragon's just a great place. I'm glad I found it.
Yeah.
A lot of great people.
Thank you all for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to follow us at CrossFitParagon.com, on Facebook, and on Instagram. Here at Paragon, we are so grateful for the incredible individuals who comprise our community and who allow us the opportunity to try and change the world for the better. One person, one workout at a time. See you next month.